Hello everyone and welcome to another video. It's been a while since I last talked about the 3DS, so today I want to take a moment to appreciate this fantastic handheld once more. This is should you buy a 3DS in 2025. Enjoy! The 3DS first came out in 2011, almost 15 years ago now. Yeah, I try not to think about that too hard. At launch, it wasn't received as well as you might expect. It was considered too expensive, and the library was pretty thin, with most games feeling more like tech demos like Pilotwings or Steel Diver. But fast forward several years and the 3DS is now largely remembered as a great success, arguably the last true Nintendo handheld. It was discontinued in 2020, though the company kept online services alive until 2024. Nowadays the system is completely abandoned by Nintendo and has become highly sought after by collectors and casual fans alike. If you are considering buying a 3DS today, there are 6 different models to look out for. The original 3DS that came out at launch, the 3DS XL that released a year later with a much larger screen, and the 2DS with its infamous cheese wedge body and lack of a 3D screen. Soon after came the new 3DS and new 3DS XL, which offered a ton of improvements over their predecessors. And finally, the new 2DS XL, Nintendo's last-ditch effort to keep the system alive while the Nintendo Switch was already out and selling like crazy. If you're on the lookout for the best models available, the new 3DS lineup is the way to go. They boast faster processors, significantly improved 3D technology, and additional buttons. But they also cost a lot compared to the earlier models, often upwards of €200. If you want the most bang for your buck, the 2DS is actually a very convenient and often overlooked option. I was able to find them readily available on eBay for as low as €70, which is a ridiculous price difference. Today I'll be focusing on the new 3DS and the new 2DS XL, since those are the models that I have on hand. The new 3DS is my personal model of choice. I appreciate the smaller, more portable size and the sharper, albeit smaller screens. Looking at the console from afar, it doesn't look too different from the original Nintendo DS, but there are a few key changes over its predecessor. For instance, there is the Circle Pad, a small and convenient alternative to an analog stick, which comes in very handy for 3D movement. On the later models, Nintendo also added the C-Stick, which kind of imitates a dual stick setup. It's not perfect, but it comes handy for games like first-person shooters or titles with free camera control like Monster Hunter. Other than that, you've got the usual suspects: a D-pad, 4 face buttons, shoulder buttons on the back, and of course a touchscreen with an accompanying stylus. It also has not 1, but 3 separate cameras that you can use for all sorts of things. Needless to say, they didn't age too well. The big gimmick of the system was of course the 3D screen, which lets you dive straight into your games without the need for any 3D glasses. In hindsight though, the 3D effect wasn't really the strong selling point Nintendo hoped it would be. Many players reported headaches while using it, and you had to hold the system at a very specific angle for the effect to work properly. The new 3DS models improved this quite a bit by adding eye-tracking sensors above the screen, making the 3D much more stable, but even then I can still feel straining on my eyes during long play sessions. Typically I just turn the 3D off, which is not only more pleasant but also helps improve your battery life. That being said, there are a handful of games where the 3D screen really shines. Most notably Super Mario 3D Land. This game was practically made for the 3D screen and the effect actually adds a lot of value, sometimes even helping you navigate the levels. For most other games though, the 3D feels shoehorned in and you really don't miss out on anything by playing them on a 2DS model or just turning off the effect. The 3DS uses cartridges that can hold anywhere between 1 and 8 GB of data. They look similar to the old DS cartridges except for a small notch that prevents you from inserting them into a regular DS. Thankfully, the 3DS is fully backwards compatible with DS cartridges, which means that between the 3DS and DS libraries you have over 5,000 physical games to choose from. Unfortunately, physical cartridges are now the only way to play 3DS games legally, since the eShop closed back in 2023. Nintendo hasn't made any serious effort to bring these titles to newer hardware, which has led to some players looking for alternative measures to obtain the games. Now, obviously I would never condone any of that. I would never tell you to jailbreak your 3DS, install the homebrew launcher, hook up the eShop and pirate 10-year-old games from a multi-billion-dollar company that doesn't even support the console anymore. That would be plain wrong. Thankfully, you don't have to go any extreme measures like that, because game prices are slowly coming down again after that initial spike when the eShop was discontinued. In particular, if you're looking for loose cartridges, you can find many of the console's popular titles for under 15 euros. One must-play title I've already mentioned earlier is Super Mario 3D Land, an excellent 3D Mario game that really makes the most out of the system's stereoscopic 3D. The levels are cleverly designed with the 3D effect in mind, helping you judge distances, spot hidden platforms, and navigate tricky jumps easily. It's fast-paced, fun, and it feels like it was specifically made for the 3DS because, well, it was. Another favorite of mine is Metroid Samus Returns. This one is a remake of the classic Metroid 2 on Game Boy, and it takes full advantage of the 3DS hardware. The controls feel tight and responsive, very similar to Metroid Dread on the Switch actually. It's challenging, rewarding, and a perfect example of how the 3DS could deliver big, almost console quality experiences on a handheld. The 3DS also gave us two fantastic Kirby games, Kirby Planet Robobot and Kirby Triple Deluxe. Both games are colorful, inventive, and packed with clever level design. Triple Deluxe plays with verticality and creative use of the touchscreen, while Planet Robobot adds a robotic suit that completely changes how you approach puzzles and combat. They're fun, charming, and just overall very Kirby. Animal Crossing New Leaf is a game I've spent so many hours in, and it's easy to see why. The game is relaxing, endlessly charming, and full of little details that make you want to keep coming back. It definitely aged better than New Horizons on the Switch, and I've been coming back to it for many years now. It's my favorite Animal Crossing game. The 3DS also got several Nintendo 64 ports, among them classics like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, and Star Fox 64 3D. These ports weren't just straight up emulations, they came with updated graphics, improved controls, and in the case of the Zelda titles, quality of life changes that made the game feel fresh while still preserving the original experience. Playing these on the go was a huge deal back then, and even today those versions hold up quite well. And we're just scratching the surface here. The 3DS had so many amazing games. Multiple Pokemon titles, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Ever Oasis, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, Kid Icarus Uprising, Fire Emblem Awakening, I could go on, you know? The 3DS featured some of the best dedicated handheld games of any system, and we haven't even tapped into the DS library yet, thanks to the 3DS native backwards compatibility. You know, I really appreciate the fact that nowadays there is no real gap between the games you can play on PC or home consoles and on so-called handheld devices like the Steam Deck or the Switch. We all get to experience the same games today, regardless of which platform we have at our disposal. But when this change happened, we also lost something in the process. Back then, handheld systems had their own unique identity. Developers weren't just scaling down console games, They were making titles designed for a smaller screen, for short bursts of play, or to take advantage of features like dual screens, a touchscreen, or even the 3D effect. That led to games that simply wouldn't exist anywhere else. The 3DS and DS in particular thrived on that uniqueness, and that's what makes them so special today. So whether you had a 3DS in the past or you're just now learning about it, the answer whether it is worth to get in 2025 is a resounding, crystal clear yes. But that's it on my part. If you have any questions or simply want to share your opinion, please leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching, and of course, have a wonderful day.